You gotta press it.
There you go.
Mayor Lund, everybody is present.
Okay, thank you. I just gave it away, so I think I did. So, the United States has got some conflict going on, and we have citizens that are in harm's way. And just want to recognize that. Turn my mic on. So we've got citizens who are in harm's way in the Middle East, and I put out on Facebook yesterday that we could have, just as we're having the invocation, that we would remember those folks. And I think I just gave away my list of who those people are, and if I can get that list back, I would appreciate it, because I want to acknowledge them. And then I've asked if Mr. Justin Scott is going to give us our invocation tonight, I believe. So Nils Koenig, we didn't get the information as far as he's deployed, but I know he's deployed in the Middle East, and we want to remember him tonight. Dylan Cleveland is also deployed to the Middle East, and then Alan Donalds, his mother, father, brother, and sister-in-law and nieces are in Dubai, and they were very close to the hotel that took the heat with the missiles coming from Iran. So all we want to do is be a supportive community, and so when we have the invocation tonight, if you would remember those in the invocation. So Mr. Justin Scott, if you would come up and give us the invocation, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father in heaven, we come to you asking for your mercy and blessing. Father, we pray tonight for wisdom for the council, that they will make decisions that are beneficial to the citizens of Canyon City and its environs. Father, we pray for everyone who is speaking tonight, that we will be able to convey our concerns in a way that it is understandable and not provocative or angering, but Father, that we would be able to communicate for the good of our community. And Father, we do pray for these that are deployed, that have been mentioned, Nils Koenig and Dylan Cleveland. We pray for the family of Alan Donalds that are in harm's way in Dubai. And Father, not only for these do we pray, but for all of the American military personnel deployed in this conflict. We pray for the Israeli military. And Father, we pray for the people of Iran. We understand that the war is against an evil government, but not against those people who want rid of their evil government, Father. And so we pray for peace and for resolution in Iran, in America, in Colorado, in Canyon City. Father, may everything done tonight ultimately be for your glory. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have a number of people who wish to speak tonight, and I'm happy to make that happen. So let's start out with, if you don't mind, Cheryl Young, is it Boomer? Bumer. Okay. You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Cheryl Young Bumer, as the Mayor introduced me. And I'm here tonight regarding the 14th Street lateral. I'm sure last month that you met Denise Jennings and her daughter, Stacy Breck, regarding case number 2025 C1138, with information that they won and we lost. So I had written Mr. Evans a letter on the 5th of February, which I left copies for up at the front desk for you all to be put in your mailboxes, and I'm hoping that you did get them, but I brought copies tonight with me. So with this ruling, each of us defendants are now ordered to pay $832 plus her expenses, which that's on page 2. In addition, we went to court with certified copies of the City of Canyon City's ordinance number 19.10.060 that we relied on to provide the court a fair ruling on our behalf. So in addition to the city's ordinance, Mr. Evans personally informed Ms. Jennings it was her responsibility to repair the lateral even though she did not have water shares, and even offering her a choice of taking advantage of the city's irrigation lateral program. So we as defendants are asking for relief in the amount of $832.88 for each of us 7 defendants who went to court. We feel that the city needs to bear some of this responsibility due to this judgment. So, I would like to ask if that lateral irrigation program is there's still a budget. Is there a budget for that? Or has that been dissolved?
I
No
don't-
idea.
Does anyone know the answer to that?
It
Go ahead.
still exists, yes.
Okay.
Well, from that budget, that's what we are asking the money to come from. So we have ordered a copy of the transcript, and we would like to find out who the person from the city was that came to her house, into her cellar, to test the water that they said it was from the ditch. So we would like to know those answers. There's another letter that's on the 3rd page that you have in your possession. That's from a Mr. Paul Snyder. He could not be here tonight. He's out of town on business. So he asked me to be in his, if I would read the letter for him. And I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to read the 3rd paragraph. With this ruling, we, the 7 defendants, were left holding the bag. That's it, the bottom line. We were holding the bag. We feel that the city needs to step up, backing us and taking responsibility to offer us some restitution in the amount of $833.88 each. We as water shareholders never had the chance to take advantage of the irrigation lateral replacement program. So there you have it, and I want to thank you all for hearing me tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your consideration in this matter.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
We're going to refer that to the Finance Committee meeting so that your request will be taken under consideration, and Chairman Tony will put that in the right spot, and we will absolutely get back with you with an answer on that.
When is the next finance meeting?
Do you have an answer for that, Mr. Tony?
Yes, Council Gerald Maloney, that is Wednesday at 4 or Thursday?
Wednesday at 4 is the Public Works Subcommittee meeting.
And I don't know if we'll be prepared to take it up right then, but it will be taken up as soon as we can get to it, which will undoubtedly be in March, and get back with you with an answer. So we take your request seriously.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I really appreciate it. Thank
Okay.
you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I think we probably can discuss it on Wednesday.
Okay, great, excellent. Mr. Scott, Justin Scott.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, as I think all of you know, my name is Justin Scott, and I'm here to speak to you tonight regarding this wildfire resiliency code. If I read the right statute, and I think I did, I think that you should not adopt this. while it certainly makes sense for people to use fire-resistant materials if they're building in an area where they expect to be subjected to a wildfire, I think it's very improper to impose that upon people. People should be able to make the choice of what they want to build and how they want to build it on their own property. And as I read the statute, this establishes new officers and a new office of enforcement and permitting with the ability to impose fines, stop construction, and generally inhibit people's use of their own property. The very thing that this council has been discussing needing to eliminate. We have too many restrictions already. It's hard to build in Canyon City. Why on earth would you want to give up some local control to a state office that will undoubtedly mess things up, because they always do? So, say no. Just say no.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Your timing is extraordinary because we're looking at it for first reading tonight, and I know the council's going to take that up, so thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave because I have another meeting.
Okay. Will Colon. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, and council, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Will Colon. I manage a farm and ranch on the east end of town, and I just want to tell you a little story about what I found a couple weeks ago. I think Cindy was able to get you a couple of pictures, and I wish I could have seen the expression on your face when you saw those pictures. As you are probably aware from all the construction going on in town, CDOT is cleaning out the culverts underneath Highway 50. The way they do that is they bring in a slurry truck with fresh water and they push it up through the culvert, stir up all the sedimentation, and then vacuum and suck all that sediment out. And it's full of all kinds of hydrocarbons and gasoline and diesel fuel and anything that drips off your car and washes into the culverts. And it's been probably soaking in that stuff. I don't ever remember them cleaning these culverts out ever in my entire life, and I don't know if anybody does. I'd be very interested in knowing if they have. But it's been soaking in that stuff for a long, long time. And so they have a subcontractor by the name of C&L. I think they're out of Colorado Springs or Denver, and they're sucking all this stuff out. And they found that it would be a good idea to dump that into an irrigation ditch on my property. Now, the truck that was dumping it is in the city limits, but it's dumping in the county, so they're right on the line. But they're dumping into a waterway. They were caught with their hand in the cookie jar. There's no question about that. And so I've been, and several neighbors that are here tonight, have been talking with CDOT and C&L. It seems like things kind of have gone stale for a while, but now we're talking to them again. But it's important for, I think, City Council to know that when I was talking with one of the upper managers of C&L, she admitted that they had made a mistake by dumping into what they call culvert 32, which is a irrigation canal that irrigates my family's farm. And that they had made a mistake and that it was supposed to be going into culvert number 33. And when she told me this, I said, well, I assume by the numbers that they're next to each other, and she confirmed that. And I said, is it east or west of the lateral 32 that I'm familiar with? And she told me it was east. And I asked her if it is on the east or west side of 4 Mile Creek, which runs right there. And she verified that it was on the west side, which means these two laterals are right next to each other. Both laterals feed my family farm and my neighbor's family's farm. And the tailwater off of those family farms goes into, some of that water goes into the Oil Creek ditch, which feeds a lot of acreage. Not only that, but the culvert 33 goes in a siphon underneath 4 Mile Creek. Now that siphon, I have no idea if it was ever replaced at any point in my life or anybody's life, but the hydraulic ditch was, for Hitt's decree goes back to 1862, I believe. And I'm pretty sure that that lateral has probably never, ever been replaced. And therefore, just from the materials that they used back then, I'm going to guess that it probably isn't exactly super stable and probably leaks into Fairmont Creek, which is no big deal when you're taking water from the Arkansas River, putting it in a ditch, and then putting it back in a creek. Nobody really cares. But if you dump sludge that is full of all kinds of nasty stuff down in there, that's going to go into the creek, and that's going to go directly to the Arkansas River. You can look at one of the pictures I've got to you guys, and you can see the grease and oil floating on the surface of the water. Now, when I asked more about Culvert 33, CNL's upper management said that they weren't sure if they dumped into it or not. I have asked for it to be tested along with my property, but you can clearly see, I have other pictures which I didn't show you guys, that there is oil floating on the top of that siphon. And so I can't prove that they dumped into it, but when I questioned it, ironically, they came back the next day as I commanded them to clean my ditch, and they used the same pump truck that they put it there to clean it all up and take it out to Twin Enviro. They also, for some reason, felt it necessary to try to withdraw as much fluid out of that siphon as they could. I don't know why you would do that unless you dump something into it. So I have reason to believe that they have used that, and I have no reason not to think that they didn't dump it anyplace else in this town. So it could have been dumped anywhere. They have no idea. They've been unable to tell us how many loads. I do know that they dumped 4 loads that day, and they've been doing this since December. They actually got a date today. They've been doing it for roughly a month, they claim, but if not longer. And they just did 4 loads a day at 2,500 to 3,000 gallons a load. You can do the math real quick. They claim they've only dumped 28,500 gallons into my ditch, but I have reason to believe there was more, or there's other places that they've been dumping it. These loads were supposed to, according to the truck driver, solids were supposed to go to Twin Enviro, and liquids were supposed to go into my ditch by order of CDOT. CDOT, of course, doesn't agree with that, but all the same, that's where it ended up. We know one of my neighbors, Tim Krantz, called Twin Enviro. I believe it was the 12th of February, the day after I caught him, and they had only taken 8 loads. I'm sorry, a total of 9 loads, but one of those loads came out of my irrigation ditch. Now, when they dump into my irrigation ditch, it's a concrete ditch and it's got a break every 4 feet. So that material sat in there. It doesn't flow down the ditch. It just sits there and oozes into the ground. So all those hydrocarbons now are in my field. And so I wanted to bring it up to your attention so you guys know what's going on. I know some of you may have been contacted by some government officials, but I wanted you guys to have the square story on that. And I would love to have your backing politically any way I can get it. And
Thank you, Will. And so this is all 4 levels of government. It's city, the county's potentially involved, the state's potentially involved with the CDOT, and the EPA on the federal level.
And that is correct.
Right. So this came to my attention, full disclosure. Max from our Congresswoman's office gave me a call last week, and I called Will and just to see what was going on. But Max had got a complaint dealing with the EPA issues for this particular issue. So I don't know that we've got regulatory kind of issues here. We can refer it to committee to check on that due diligence part of it. But I also think we can support you politically as far as none of us want this going on in our community, right? So I saw a hand, Brian?
Yeah. Actually, we have Leo Evans, our Public Works Director here. He can probably give a little bit more information from a stormwater standpoint. We did address this through stormwater, but CDOT as a state agency runs their own MS4 permits, which is what gives us the authority to permit people. But because they run their own, some of those jurisdictional lines, make cause some issues as far as our enforcement.
Okay.
But Leo, do you want to?
Leo, before you start, I want to make sure that I've got, I have 4 people who are going to speak, and if there's anybody else that chooses to speak, if you'd make sure you fill out a slip and get it to the city clerk, that would be great. If it's only those 4 individuals, the next one is Lester Lamone. If you're not of the names that are called, please make sure you fill out a slip. So with that, Leo.
Thank you. I think Will said it pretty well. The complaint, I think, maybe first came into the city. We had our stormwater coordinator go out and inspect it. Did note that it's on county property, but did note that it was an illicit discharge. We contacted CDOT. My understanding is CDOT shut the project down for a period of time, I want to say 5 days. Did some cleanup work. They've filed the notifications that they're required to file for an illicit discharge with the EPA, which is how they're notified of that, and that they were working with the property owners on resolution and restoration of the damage they had caused. As you noted, it isn't our permit. We don't have the authority to force them that. They've kept us in the loop on how that's going. I know the AG has also been informed at the state level of this, as these can sometimes have court claims for damages that are required to be paid by the contractor as a result of these. So that's another layer of that as well. But yeah, my understanding is the repair is in the works. I don't know that it's been completed to anyone's satisfaction yet. And I don't know that we have a good handle on what other discharges may have occurred elsewhere in the system as a result of this project.
So Ryan, do we keep this on the staff level, and Leo's going to be in charge of that, or do we need to discuss it at all in the committee?
I think if there's going to be political support of some kind, that probably needs to be discussed at a committee level. I would ask Leo if we could have our stormwater coordinator go out and do some additional inspections of other potential discharge areas to make sure that we're not missing anything. That would be great.
Okay, so we'll refer to the Finance and Public Works Committee. Okay.
I'd like to ask one quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Will, just out of curiosity, on the cleaning of this, because, you know, as I know, you know, these ditches are important to all of us who have some ground and want our fields taken care of. I mean, but when they did their cleanup, any idea what chemicals or anything like that they used on it, or did you get? You'll be getting that, I'm sure, just to see if any of that leaked down into your.
I don't know what chemicals they use to clean the culverts. I have no idea. It sounds like it's just water.
Okay, no, I was wondering on your, because that's no doubt going to stain on your irrigation ditch. There's no doubt there's going to be sediment no matter what, unless, I don't think
when they cleaned the irrigation ditch, or the concrete ditch, they used water. They used the same truck, using the same water, and they vacuumed up all that stuff like a big,
right.
Big vacuum cleaner, sucked all that stuff up. One of the little tidbits that I kind of left out of this, they had mentioned to me that they would clean it up, and the next day they did. And they talked about removing soil out of my field because they had spilled over the side of the ditch and it ran into my field, and it happens to be in a place where we, in the past, have had a hard time getting the irrigation water to get to the bottom. So we take a tractor with a big tube that's about 3 feet long, and we rip the field so that the water flows easier to the bottom of the field, and they spilled their material right there, so we know that it went into that fissure that went down in the field. Gotcha. And I explained that to them. They said, oh, well, don't worry, we'll remove some of your topsoil and replace it. And I said, no, you're not coming on my field until we know what's in the ground and everything. The next day when they came on and I wasn't there, they took their truck full of what I'm going to assume is fresh water and spilled it down that fissure and then vacuumed up a chunk of my field, which is probably roughly 20 by 10. And so I did at that point call the sheriff and report trespassing. But now I have a big hole in my field, a big mud pit, and they're asking me for what kind of soil I want it replaced with. It seems, my gut tells me that when they took all that water and dumped in that fissure, it wasn't to suck up the material, it was to further hide the problem and dilute it. The solution to pollution is dilution, and that's what they're doing.
Okay.
But that's my opinion.
All right, thanks, Will.
But thank you.
Councilmember Tony, you have a request to speak?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Will. So the CDOT had told them to pump into 33 instead of 32, but they shouldn't have pumped into either one of those, correct?
No, they should not have been pumping. Those are both irrigation canals or irrigation ditches that my family uses, the Krantz family uses, and other people on that line use.
So,
Just as the 14th Street lateral has, what, 10, 12 users? We have the same type of thing out in the country. Maybe not as many users, but yes, that has been used for hundreds of years or not hundreds of years, but since the 1860s for irrigation. It's not a disposal. And my understanding is you can have whatever nastiness underneath a culvert, but as soon as you collect it, it's yours. You can't just go and dump that in the river or dump it in a creek or dump it in a ditch. You got to dispose of it, and that's exactly what they did.
so the 4 Mile Creek that's running today, that affects a lot of people as well. How far is that from the 4 Mile Creek?
I'm going to say if they discharge, well, even in discharging in either 32 or 33, I don't know, 100 feet, maybe 150 feet. Not very far at all. I can throw a rock that far.
All right.
Tim
And the
Krantz, you're going
siphon-
to be right up next as well, so,
And the siphon is right underneath the creek. So,
okay.
thank you for your time.
Mayor Pro Tem Schmisser.
Can me finish?
Oh, I didn't know you were,
Yeah.
I figured you were done.
So I'm thinking this should go to Mayor Pro Tem's Public Safety and Committee, no? Instead of the Finance.
I'm fine with that as well.
Absolutely, happy to have it. Thanks so much, Ryan, for directing our Public Works Director to ensure that we're looking at other areas in the city as well where they could potentially be dumped. From my perspective, I think it would be, at a minimum, great to see a letter documenting the city's concerns going to CDOT, both on behalf of our residents, but also on behalf of the city and the impact that this will have on all of us. So thank you so much for bringing it to our attention, Will. Our next Public Safety and Quality of Life Committee meeting is Wednesday. So happy to, I don't know if you've already amended the agenda to add the. Okay, so it's Wednesday at 4, if that works well for you guys. Happy to have the conversation in more detail then. Otherwise, I'll reach out and we can find another time
Great, thank you. And that was Wednesday at 4?
in this room.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Bill.
And I do think it crosses lines because Leo is involved with this as well, so. Okay, Tim Krantz, same issue, I'm guessing?
Yes, same issue. Mr. Mayor, council members, thanks for letting me speak. Will spoke to my concerns very eloquently, and so I certainly won't reiterate that. Everything he said is factual to the best of my knowledge as well. I just wanted to maybe paint a little bit more of the picture and explain why it's relevant to you as the city council. So if you look at the map that was just handed to you, there is maybe a purplish line running horizontally that intersects with a yellow line. Does everybody see that on the map? I don't have the color vocabulary that maybe I should. So that is the lateral that is fed from what CDOT calls Culvert 33. And that comes across the Cullen family farm and then on to mine. And my farm, the northern half of my farm, is in the city limits. Where Will is in the county, I'm in the city. So the address of that is 3132 Grandview Avenue. And so there is a small portion of city there. So that is going to impact city property as well, which is ours. So not just a county issue, certainly. And then you see the yellow, when the lateral flows, it dumps into Oil Creek, which is the yellow line there. And the yellow line goes into a series of white lines, as you see downstream, and then flows back to the west. And then it directly flows into Oil Creek just south of and just north of Grandview, right at the bridge. And that land was recently annexed in the CDOT bridge project. Well, not annexed, I'm sorry, was essentially not quite adverse possessed, but bought under duress from us. We weren't interested in selling it. But they now have the return ditch. That is not being maintained anymore since we don't own it, but that water does enter 4 Mile Creek at that location, and it does enter 4 Mile Creek due west of the 90-degree bend on Oil Creek there as well. And then, of course, it enters Mud Gulch, and then both of those enter the Arkansas River. The other list that we gave you, and now most of these addresses are in the county, probably mine may be the only address that's in the city here, the 3215 and 3135 Grandview. But all these other ones are going to be impacted if the Oil Creek ditch is contaminated by this, whatever it is that they put in there. Unfortunately, the obvious answer would be for us to all close our head gates and let it flush straight into the Arkansas, which doesn't seem appropriate either. But we're kind of been put in this position where our land can be damaged if we have our head gates opened, or the river can be damaged if we have the head gates closed. So I appreciate all of your statement that you'd like to back Will and us who are downstream users of this water politically and take a stance that CDOT has made a misstep here. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, another Tim, and am I reading your handwriting? Wadsworth? Did I get it right? Walsworth. Welcome, sir.
I wish I weren't here for this, but I'm also a co-defendant in the 14th lateral ditch case that we lost. The co-defendants that own water shares on that lateral, we followed the code, the city municipal code. I even talked to a former city council member who told me she was directly involved in writing the code and that there was no way based on the code that we could bear any responsibility. So I would ask for a few things. Number one is, along with Cheryl, I also request some financial assistance because we followed the code and we got ruled against. Number two, the judge ruled not just against us, but she ruled against your city code, which we followed. Leo Evans was at court and testified to that as well. So I would ask for some relief. I would ask for the city council to seek your attorney and tighten up the code so it actually doesn't get overrun by the state law, which is what the judge ruled preceded you. So home rule, as it was clearly defined in court by the judge, she ruled right against it. So home rule seems to be a moot point, has no value whatsoever. So while we followed the city code, we get ruled against, and we have a financial responsibility. I do believe that as the city code was written, the 19.10.010, it's a very pragmatic and realistic the way it reads. But the judge ruled against it. So somehow you guys have to be able to tighten up the code so that gets addressed. I have a bigger concern that I don't know how many water share holders there are on the many different laterals throughout the city, but this is going to open up an absolute can of worms because she had, the plaintiff had a closed ditch. The water shareholders, all of us, we all understand and we all agree that we bear responsibility for maintaining and keeping clean an open ditch. But there's very few open ditches any longer. My wife and I have maintained the lateral on our section of property. That's why we really couldn't believe that we could get ruled against. And I talked to a city council member who said she was directly involved in writing that code, no way we could lose. And that same city council member also told me that, hey, if we did lose, we just didn't have to pay it. That's not how my wife and I operate. We own apartment buildings in the community. We provide safe, clean, and affordable housing as best we can. But losing a case like this gets just more costly to us, and we shouldn't be bearing that responsibility. So, again, I ask you guys to seek your own counsel and get this code tightened up so it doesn't become a much bigger can of worms throughout the whole city with all the other water share owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walsworth, very much. Okay, is there anybody else, before I put Lester on, because Lester has asked that he get a few more minutes than the 3 minutes, and I've already allocated that he can do that. So I think, seeing none, Mr. Lester Lamone.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm going to make a presentation to you this evening. I have copies of the presentation that I'll hand out to you after I'm done. I'm going to stand for questions afterwards because I've got some vocabulary that you might question or need further clarification on. So most of you know who I am, but for our television audience, my name is Lester Lamone. I'm the principal of P3 Communities Incorporated, located here in town at 425 Main Street, Suite 1. P3 Communities is a full-service architecture and community development firm. I've been practicing architecture now for 34 years, the last 10 of which have been in this community. I believe I have enough education, training, and experience to be considered an expert in my field. Additionally, I have worked alongside engineering, regulatory, and trade professions in the construction industry for that same amount of time. So I have a definite understanding and a perspective on how the process works in each jurisdiction and at each level. On November 21st, 2020, Ordinance Number 20-2020 was adopted, referencing the 2018 International Residential Code as the law of the land here in Canyon City, Colorado. In that action, 19 amendments were made to Chapter 4 of the original code text. It is unknown to me what evaluation process was used to examine and present for adoption amendments to the original code language. That amendment code language is as follows. Quote, R401.4 soils tests. Soils investigation and lab analysis is required and shall meet the following criteria. Geotechnical evaluation by a professional engineer, PE, registered in the state of Colorado. The geotechnical evaluation shall include a subsurface soil investigation, laboratory testing, and PE stamped report to summarize the geotechnical geologic conditions found, provide bearing capacity and other necessary soil parameters to support structural design and mitigation recommendations as required to address geological hazards, challenging soil or bedrock conditions, and groundwater-related issues that would damage or otherwise impact the use of the structure as planned. Exception: one-story detached residential garages or one-story detached residential storage buildings not exceeding 800 square feet in floor area. Now the original language. The original language pertaining to subsurface soils investigation in the 2018 International Residential Code was removed, and it states, quote, R401.4 soils tests. Where quantifiable data created by accepted soil science methodologies indicate expansive soils, compressible soils, shifting soils, or other questionable soils characteristics are likely to be present, the building official shall determine whether to require a soils test to determine the soil's characteristics at a particular location. This test shall be done by an approved agency using an approved method, unquote. The very next section of code states, quote, R401.4.1, geotechnical evaluation. In lieu of a complete geotechnical evaluation, The load-bearing values in Table R401.4.1 shall be assumed. When I give you your copy of this, you're going to see that table. I couldn't put it on the screen tonight. The bearing capacities, values, and soil descriptions in that load table referenced in the International Residential Code is the exact same as in the International Building Code, the Commercial Code. Table 1806.2. My point with this statement is that the residential code and the commercial code do not differ in this regard, making the residential code as rigorous as the commercial code. Why then would one remove this from the standards of the residential code? The information in this table, along with the language in 401.4 geotechnical evaluation, gives engineers the ability to perform mathematical computations for the structural design of footings, foundations, and subsurface structures without the soils testing or recommendations of geotechnical engineers. Soils are always evaluated, even after a soils investigation and report, to ensure the boring location exhibits the same characteristics as the excavation location exposes. Again, this is another example of where the primary design engineer is in charge of the design and ultimate performance of their structures. Here's my argument. In the text of the International Building Code, a code from the same family, which is used to design and facilitate the construction of commercial facilities that vary in size and weight from 5,500 square feet and 1 story to unlimited area and unlimited height buildings, the determination of the scope and intensity of soils investigations, classification, and designs using that information are determined by a registered design professional. Being a practicing registered design professional in the state of Colorado, I know the standard for design, engineering, and construction in the commercial arena far exceeds the standards used for 1 and 2 family dwellings. To remove professionals from the standard in residential design and construction is perplexing. This plea seeks not to remove the building official from the authority that the office holds. Rather, it seeks to apply a reasonable standard to the application of power from that office. It seeks to do so by explaining to this body the responsibility and duty practiced by the educated, trained, and licensed professionals that work in this city, county, and state, and in other states and jurisdictions with differing environmental conditions. When an engineering professional who is qualified by education, testing, and experience to practice geotechnical engineering, structural engineering, or civil engineering begins designs for subsurface structural elements, their professional ethics demand they focus on habitable buildings within 150 feet of any active ditch, excluding very small laterals, habitable buildings with small laterals running at an elevation above the footing elevation, buildings with former additions showing signs of heave or subsidence, mining areas or former mining claims, former stream beds or waterways, riverside property, creekside property, or flood zone property, buildings straddling 2 different soil types or strata, hillside areas with building slopes on sites more than 25%. Additionally, they also focus their attention on the buildings with the following properties: buildings of 3 stories or more, including 2 stories with a crawl space, buildings exceeding 3,500 square feet, buildings with irregular footprints like barbell shapes or long, slender shapes. And of course, they pay particular attention to anywhere the U.S. Department of Agriculture or the Colorado Geological Survey indicate high or extreme possibilities of swelling soil, landslides, or corrosive soils. By now, you should begin to get a sense of the magnitude of responsibility licensed design professionals place on themselves when they create solutions for individuals and corporations where the built environment is concerned. They assume this responsibility through their professional licenses, their professional liability insurance carriers, and their professional ethos. Additionally, it is the design community's belief that the final design of the foundation should be left to the engineer of record designing the foundation. Hold on. The need for full geotechnical. Okay. Additionally, additionally, it is the design community's belief that the final design of the foundation should be left to the engineer of record designing the foundation. The need for a full geotechnical report should be at the discretion of the design engineer and not the regulatory agency, even if it's the agency's opinion that the soils in Canyon City are terrible. If, in the engineer's opinion, further analysis of the soils is warranted, then it can be requested for design use. The city does not need to protect us from ourselves. The city does not need blanket protections when it has no liability for the outcome. We have already codified penalties for work done without permits or without the supervision of a licensed professional. You already have a requirement for engineered stamp drawings on the foundations. That's enough. That's all you need to perform your due diligence where quality construction is concerned. The existing code allows the building official to request the testing for good cause, but does not require the testing to be performed for all new construction. Should the foundation design need a full soils report, then the building official should be allowed to request the report for examination. But there is an important caveat to a full soils report. The report only makes recommendations for the design of the foundation system, thereby absolving them of liability. It is still the responsibility of the design engineer to take the recommendation along with the type of soils identified to design the most efficient and robust foundation possible. They are allowed to deviate, and without the permission of the building official. The role of the building department is not to supervise design professionals. To do so would be assuming responsibility for the design, something they will not do. Its role is to review work performed by these professionals prior to issuing permits to verify they have complied with all the regulations. In the same way, the building official cannot recommend designs or solutions. They must also stand aside and let those most qualified to perform their professional duties on the behalf of the client. There is a financial cost for the clients, as there should be when developing projects, but many times the initial cost to satisfy regulatory requirements outweighs the cost of the project altogether. That percentage math changes for every owner, but the issue is the same. At some point, they give up the project due to the costs. This is also one of the major factors contributing to disobedience by homeowners. They would rather perform their work in the shadows and on the weekends and without a permit because of regulatory overreach. This disobedience is in direct conflict with the building department's goal of safe building practices in the city. I have never been asked, how much can I get away with without a permit because of the cost of the permit? It's never been the cost. The current blanket amendment language is onerous on so many small projects that are usually facilitated by homeowners with limited budgets. The cost of soils testing is usually between $1,600 and $1,800. Beyond that cost is civil and structural engineering, which varies on the project and the size, but falls between $2,500 and $4,000. A homeowner may spend between $4,100 and $5,800 to develop a project. For a $300,000 home, that's only 2% of the total cost. For an 80 square foot porch addition, which is an actual project I have, that figures 27% of the cost. And by ordinance, there's no distinction between these two projects. No distinction. So, my plea for relief is I would like you to consider repealing the current amendment language codified in 15.04.030L, thereby adopting the original code language in the 2018 residential code for 1 and 2 family dwellings, and abolish the need for full soils reports for one-story new structures, additions, or alterations in footprint areas under 350 square feet. This proposal rightly assumes the adoption of the code and its amendments were made with the best intentions by the City of Canyon City, the City Council, and the Building Department to create safe construction measures inside the boundary of the city. This proposal does not seek to place its presenter in an adversarial relationship with the Building Department or the government of the City of Canyon City. It is not meant to criticize past committees, councils, counselors, or administrators. Its sole position is to shine a light on a problem and to gain a measure of reasonableness in an existing process, seeking the same level of health, safety, and welfare that the Building Department holds as its ethos.
Thank you, Lester. I think we're going to hold on the questions tonight, because I'd like to refer this to the Economic Development Committee, who is dealing with the same issues, and if
Yes, sir.
anybody has any challenges with that, please let me know. I don't see anybody doing that. We would like that distributed, so that we all could have it, but if you don't mind, I'd like to put you on the agenda for Economic Development Committee.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, no other items before me as far as speaking, so we're going to move into the reports. And if you don't mind, I'd like to hold on the Economic Development Committee and go into Finance and Budget and Public Works first. Would that be okay? And I think one of the things you're going to put on there is dealing with the pool agenda. Thank you, Lester. I also want to mention, if you don't have an agenda, Michael Kroll is going to give a presentation on emergency management. I think it's worth staying around for, so I'm encouraging people to stay put, because this is an important issue that we're going to be dealing with. So, Councilmember Tony.
Thank you. I'd like to pass this on to our budget and our public works leadership, our Mayor Pro Tem Schmischer and Maloney, please, to talk about their subcommittee pieces real quick.
Sure, happy to. So the first meeting of the Budget Subcommittee will be Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. at Moe's. Essentially, it's to ensure that the citizen members of the subcommittee are familiar with the budget, know how to access it, know how to look through it, and the primary topics of conversation will be kind of organizing ourselves for the year. It's both looking at the 2026 budget and ensuring that we understand what the city has prioritized within 2026, and then most importantly from my perspective is how are we actually going to go through the 2027 budget development process to ensure that City Council is providing strategic policy direction to the city about the prioritization effort. Thanks.
We have our first Public Works Subcommittee meeting as part of the Finance, Budget, and Public Works Wednesday at 4 o'clock right here. We have a conflicting meeting as well, so we'll have to figure out exactly where we're going to meet.
We've done that before.
We have.
Mhm.
It might be upstairs. Antechambers. Director Leo Evans has put together a little short presentation about kind of like a Public Works 101, and that's probably what we'll review at that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'll go talk immediately about the pool subcommittee. But first, we have our total finance, budget, and public works committee meeting this Thursday, the 5th at 4 o'clock. That will be here at City Hall. So just an update on our pool, some significant proceedings, things preceding the events. But Mr. David Littles is in the audience here. He's our lead on the pool special project committee, and we've come a long way in a little bit of time here. But we have an extension. That's not for me. Okay. So we've been through an extensive 3-year effort that was conducted, including numerous focus groups, public meetings, and community surveys to define the community's preferred option to replace the Ichabod swimming pool. The outcome of the process was the community's expressed preference for a year-round community pool featuring both indoor and outdoor pools. 2024 voters approved authority for the Canyon City Rec District to issue $23.8 million bonds to construct a year-round pool. The 2024 voters approved a 0.3% sales tax, use tax to pay the bonds. And then Canyon City's 0.3 sales and use tax has generated about $1.5 million so far, of which about half, $740,000, that money has been spent on consulting fees to bring the community complex to about a 50% design level. In 2024 and 2025, voters turned down ballot question to fund the operation and maintenance for the community public complex. The City Council at the 3/16/26 meeting will decide whether to stop collection of the voters' approved 0.3% and use tax currently in effect. And if the city council takes no action, the collection of the 0.3% tax continues. So some of the current issues. The consultants calculated the 2028 O&M cost and revenue for the community pool complex that was approved would be about $1 million per year in cost and $500,000 per year in revenue, leaving a operation and maintenance funding shortage of about $500,000, $500,000. And all those numbers are rounded. Then ongoing efforts to identify possible reductions in the O&M funding shortage. We're looking at all avenues that we can, but to explore whether a portion of all the costs for electricity and natural gas can be donated by utility providers, to explore possibilities for the Fremont County to fund a portion of the O&M shortage in addition to any Conservation Trust Fund, CFT dollars, and then investigate the consultants' revenue and cost calculations for O&M and determine if there are any significant available savings. We want to determine the amount of CTF dollars Canyon City Rec District, and Fremont County are willing to commit to provide for the O&M for the community pool complex. Best guess so far is about $60,000. We want to determine the amount of O&M Canyon City Rec District is willing to pay in addition to any CFT dollars. The Rec District has about $50,000 a year they can contribute from the dollars they use to spend on the Ichabod pool. And then some options involving City Council. We could fund the O&M shortage from Canyon City's budget, temporary or permanent. There's some catches to that. Unless there's an increase in revenue, it would require the reprioritizing of some of the items in the Canyon City the Canyon City budget. We could work with the Canyon City Rec District to see if there are any cost savings if the City Parks Department would take responsibility for operation and maintenance of some of the trails and parks, presently responsibility of the Canyon City Rec Districts. We're looking at all avenues we can. We could increase Canyon City's revenue. Optional items that came up but not limited to, add parking meters to lots primarily used by visitors. Ask the voters to approve the sale of a recreational marijuana in Canyon City. City Council could potentially go back to the voters in 5 to 10 years for funding of the O&M funding shortage after the pool has been operated for a while. Want to talk about some critical dates. 3/16/26, City Council decides whether to stop collecting the 0.3% sales tax. On 5/4/26, if the City Council is to stop collection of the city sales tax, an ordinance with 2 readings must be approved by this date. And on 5/30/26, investigate all the aspects of feasibility regarding medical marijuana, including but not limited to allocation of potential tax proceeds, city versus county ordinance, codification and licensing ballots and timelines. Our council members, Maloney and Tasha Aubrey, are working on that. We could explore whether a portion of the cost for utilities can be donated by the utility providers. 3/31/26, investigate the consultant's revenue and cost calculations for O&M to determine if there are any significant available savings. And 4/30/26, explore adding parking meters to lots primarily used by visitors. And on 4/31/26, explore possibilities for Fremont County to add to fund a portion of the O&M shortage in addition to CTF dollars. Some of the agencies and people that have been interviewed and the subcommittees have completed to date. There were 2 pool subcommittee meetings in February. People interviewed were 2 Canyon City Rec District board members, executive director of the Canyon City Rec District, Canyon City attorney, administrator, and financial director. Citizens at the 2 subcommittee meetings were also heard. So as you can see, we're made this a priority. I know that sounds like a lot, but our subcommittees are working really hard on all of these efforts. The budgets, the finance will come together with the rest of the team, and we want to find a solution. We still want to focus on breaking ground and getting this project going this year. And so far, I think we found some light at the end of the tunnel, but we need to bring that to the full city council as a recommendation, and the full city council will have to vote on that as we go forward. Did I get any of those dates wrong, Ryan?
I don't believe so, but
I woke him up.
Mayor Pro Tem Schmischer.
Thank you. I was struck by the March 16th decision is needed by City Council. Is there a reason why that decision needs to happen so far in advance of the ordinance?
So we want to put our recommendation to the city council on the 16th. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So City Council doesn't need
No.
to make a decision
No.
regarding sales tax collection on March 16th?
No.
It's that we would be getting a recommendation from the pool
From the
subcommittee?
subcommittee.
And would
Yes.
that be going through the full committee first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The, and if we decide to continue the tax, we don't have to do anything with the state.
So the goal with all that is to be transparent about this topic and dealing with the finances. I get on social media once in a while, and there's a lot of questions about the money that's been collected, where it's going, and I think Councilmember Tony just laid out all that, and I'm sure he's willing to answer any other questions that might be out there. So, City Administrator.
yeah, there is one other issue that is currently percolating, and there's a meeting tomorrow with the school district, but the school district has a deadline that they have to meet. They have to decide whether or not they're going to restore the front lawn of the high school, and that's a roughly $250,000 expense. Their funding expires at the end of May, and they're looking for the city and rec district to give them a go or no-go on whether or not they need to replant and redo that front yard. So even though we have a timeline to move forward, one of our partners, key partners in this project, is asking what to do, because if they miss that deadline, they're going to be asking for the city to cover that if this project does not go forward.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Is there a hard, like, are they making a decision on Wednesday? Are they looking for?
That's why I'm bringing it up now, because when we meet with them, we need to provide them with some guidance.
Okay. Councilmember Tony?
Yeah, their first phase doesn't impact that part of the grounds, but soon thereafter, you're right, they do have a deadline they have to meet. So after we gather that information from them, we'll pass it through the whole committee.
Yeah, it's my understanding that their funding expires at the end of May, so they have to be, they have to start constructing if they're going to move forward soon.
Okay, we have some deadlines. Okay, I will do the Economic Development Committee met at 4 o'clock today, and the focus is on a thriving Canyon City. How do we get there? And so the discussion that is before us at this point is some of the processes that even Lester was making reference to earlier, as far as how we deal with particular codes, et cetera. And we do have an option of looking at Southern Colorado Building Department. That was discussed extensively. The mayor of Pueblo was here, as well as the chief building official from Southern Colorado Building Department. And they gave a presentation regarding that and what the opportunity is for Canyon City. And then the council members themselves had a chance to, the committee members had a chance to ask questions, as well as there were a number of contractors there that had discussion as well. And I think from my perspective, and I think the people that were there and the feedback that I got after the meeting, that this is a discussion that we must have in Canyon City. There's no thought about it has to go one way or another. What is the thought is that we need to take the next step up as far as our abilities in Canyon City to provide building services, specifically, the permitting and the process, et cetera. So we are going to meet again on March the 23rd. That is the Economic Development Committee, and discuss what we heard today and figure out where we could go. Again, the goal is a thriving Canyon City, and this certainly is not, it's one issue among many that the Economic Development Committee will be discussing in the future to get us to that place. It's just so important to citizens, it's important to builders, it's important to a lot of people, but it's one among many things we need to deal with. But since I've been mayor, quite frankly, I've been getting almost a daily hit of processes that people are interested in us taking a look at. And it's our responsibility to do, in fact, that, and we'll see what the outcomes are. Public safety and quality of life, please.
Thank you. At our first fully constituted committee meeting, we primarily heard from Chief of Police Schick about the Certified Crime Prevention Program. That's something that we are anticipating will be on the City Council agenda on March 16th, and he'll give a full presentation to Council, and we'll get your direction and guidance on whether or not we should move forward with that. And that will then, if Council does approve it, will be a main topic of conversation in our April committee meeting. We also had 3 representatives of the committee interview the applicants for the Royal Gorge Mountain Park Trails Committee. So huge thanks to Yvonne Smith and Lester Lamone for sitting with me on that. This is a really exciting committee, in part because it's, I think, one of the very first ones in our city that specifically requires a youth, a Canyon City youth aged 14 to 18 to sit on the committee. And we're actually, you'll see it in your packet as part of the consent agenda, but we're actually recommending 2 Canyon City youth to occupy 2 of the 4 seats. Let's see, this Wednesday at 4 p.m. here in these chambers, we will have our next committee meeting. The main topics of conversation are the flock cameras, the parking lot adjacent to Centennial Park and the hours for it on the public safety side, and then more on the quality of life side. The Library Foundation, which is a separate 501c3, is interested in putting funding towards a playground in Macon Plaza. Well, this is consistent with the 2012 Macon Plaza strategic planning exercise. That planning exercise is now a little bit dated because a lot of the things that were in that ended up in Centennial Park and in other parks around Canyon. So we just need to make sure that we understand what the plan is. And then our museum director, Lisa Stutz, will be giving a presentation on the underground storefronts here in Canyon. I know that the possibility of tunnels is something that is very interesting to Canyon City, so she will be, or sorry, to City Council. So she will be giving a presentation on what is known about that. One other update on the quality of life side, we do have our new adventure guides. These are funded in part by the City of Canyon City using community agency funding. These have all of the trails of Canyon City in them, as well as other fun things to do around town. There was an adventure party launch on Sunday with Fremont Adventure Recreation, which is the local nonprofit that puts this together. Along with RG Rio, Royal Gorge Rio, they're our river nonprofit, and SoCo Crag, which is a little bit lesser known, but they're our rock climbing nonprofit. They take care of the wet mountains. Encourage folks to get involved with all 3 of those organizations. They are hugely important to our outdoor recreation spirit here in Canyon City. Thanks.
Thank you. So for those of you online, I am certain that this is a stimulating conversation that we've been having with all the details that are there, and there's probably nothing else that you can watch that is more stimulating than this. But saying that, there's a lot of details to all this, and I want to specifically thank the citizens who signed up to be part of this discussion. So if you're listening, you have our thanks for diving into the details, and we've only been at this for 2 months with the new committees, and you really have stepped up to the plate, and some of you are in the audience, Mr. Little, et cetera. And I also want to thank the council members for trying out these new committees and all the work that is being put forth by all of you, and I really appreciate it, and I think this is good for the city. So those details, yeah, they're rough, but we're also diving into those details and figuring out just how to navigate the ship of Canyon City and where we can go. And so my thanks is to the council members as well as the citizen members who have signed up for that. And I see Mr. Councilmember Tony, and then we'll move on with the agenda.
Yeah, I want to make sure we thank our city staff that is helping us along as we learn, and they're feeding us some really good facts, information, and then having to go out of their way extra time for these meetings. So thanks to all your team out there. Thank you very much.
Very appropriately said, sir. So thank you so much. City Administrator, to review the agenda and the consent agenda items, please.
Thank you, Mayor Lund and City Council members. Item 7A is to approve the minutes of the regular City Council meeting on February 16th, the special City Council meeting on February 16th, which was an executive session, committee meetings on February 5th, February 17th, February 18th, and the community meetings on February 12th and February 19th. And I believe our city attorney may have some comments about those approvals.
Would you like me to make those now?
I may as well.
All right, so I'm going to request that the minutes of the committees and the community events, and I'll address that separately, not be removed from the consent agenda. These are minutes that need to be approved by the committees and not by council. These are not council minutes. These are not council meetings. So they need to be brought back down to the committees for approval. They can certainly be shared with council as an informational item, but it can be outside an agenda. The community meetings, Forward Talks and Gateway, do not require minutes at all. And Cindy and I have talked about that today, so I think we have that sorted. So that's it.
All right. Thank you. Item 7B is to authorize the mayor to appoint Mason Leonard, Heidi Numson, Molly Mary, and Meg Mercier to the Royal Gorge Mountain Parks Trails Committee. 7C approves expenditures of training funds for K-9 unit training and certification with Marathon K-9 Training Academy in an amount not to exceed $10,350. 7D awards bid 15-26 vault toilet and sewer pumping services to Bird Sewer, Rooter, and Septic Service in an amount not to exceed $28,000. 7E awards bid 16-26 Z Aerata 30-inch stand-on aerator to Horizon Distributing Inc. of Littleton, Colorado in an amount not to exceed $13,681.76. 7F awards bid 17-26 Turf Tiger 2 commercial turf mower to G&G Equipment in an amount not to exceed $14,982. 7G awards bid 22-26 fertilizer to Nutrien Ag Solutions of Greeley, Colorado in an amount not to exceed $14,680. 7H awards bid 26-26 traffic paint and glass beads to Colorado Paint Company of Denver, Colorado in an amount not to exceed $13,000. 7I is to receive and ratify cash disbursements. 7J is to receive and file cash disbursements.
Okay, any additions or corrections or questions for the city administrator? Yes,
Thank you.
Councilmember Schmischer.
I have a question for the city attorney on 7A and then questions on 7B and 7C. On 7A, so we are taking out not just the minutes for the 3 newly constituted committees, but we would no longer have any committee minutes, including public art and any other committees. Is that correct?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, it applies to your Public Arts Committee, your Water Committee, everything. Those are not meetings of council, those are meetings of those committees.
Okay. Could you also provide further clarification about what is required to be in those minutes and what is required for those meetings to occur? Do they need to be recorded? Do those minutes, if a committee, I think I saw the Economic Development Committee reviewed the wildfire resiliency and is directing it to us, do they then need to document motions and seconds and votes?
Yeah, so it kind of depends. So we've had this conversation with a couple members of council. Written minutes are actually not required under the open meetings law and not required for these committees. So written minutes are not necessarily required. It can be a verbatim recording of the meeting. So for instance, council meetings are recorded and posted. So if there's an audio recording or a Zoom recording of the committee meetings, that could simply be posted and no written minutes would be made because it's a verbatim record. If they're going to do written minutes instead, I would suggest that especially when they're referring any item actually, that the motion and second and vote, I know there's only certain members vote, but the vote is recorded in those minutes if written minutes are going to be the way that council would like that handled. And the resolution that created the committees does not address minutes, whether they should be written or some type of audio video format. So that was not discussed at that time, and I know it's come up since then. Did I answer all your questions? I apologize.
I think so. Would it be helpful then perhaps to have the committee as a topic of discussion at the next council meeting to ensure that we're all doing it the same way across the 3 committees and ensuring that it's transparent and that folks who aren't able to attend the committee meetings still are able to access the information?
That's up to council. Yep.
Sure, let's do that.
Okay, thank you. Is it all right if I go ahead and ask the questions on 7B and 7C? Thank you. On 7C, City Administrator Stevens, I believe that late this afternoon you sent out an updated version of the K-9 unit training contract. Has that actually been officially attached to the amendment, or when the motion is made, do we also need to say as amended? And if so, could you then express what those changes were?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is actually stemming from me, so I'll just explain. So as I was preparing for the meeting and reviewing the packet, I had a conversation with Commander Belt. The agreement that's in the packet, and I haven't seen what Ryan sent you, but I'm assuming it's what I sent staff, is not the proper agreement. This is not a professional services, and there's something odd going on the first page, which is a separate issue. And so the agreement that you should have, which is an agreement for services, is the correct format.
Okay, so it's the standard
It's our template,
city
yep.
agreement for services rather than agreement for professional services?
Exactly.
Okay, but we would, I think, then need to make that amendment as part of the motion.
Yes.
And then my third question was about 7B. This is what I mentioned during my committee update in terms of these are the names that are being recommended as the citizen participants on the Royal Gorge Mountain Park Trails Committee. Typically in the past, when we appoint the citizens, that's when we also appoint council members. There are 2 council member seats on this particular committee. I would quite naturally love to be one of them as the chair of the Public Safety and Quality of Life Committee. So typically in the past, we've just asked if anyone else or if what council members may be interested in sitting on that particular committee and do the appointment at the same time as the appointment of the citizens so that I can get to work.
So if I'm understanding, you're asking if you would be on that committee as well?
I'm saying that we need 2 council members. And the way that this has traditionally been done, the council members are appointed by council according to the resolution at the same time that we appoint the citizen members.
Sounds good. I'd like to stay with the ordinance, and so I'd like to take that, that's new, the request right now, and so if we can talk about that in the future, I would appreciate it.
So
She's asking about tradition, and I'm asking, as a new council member and as a new mayor, I would like the time to review her request as opposed to immediately respond to that right now, because tradition, and one of the things I have as a goal of a mayor, is we get back to exactly what the ordinance are saying and what everything has been done in the past, that we just take another look at it. And so Mayor Pro Tem Schmischer has given me a question at my first reading, and I would like a chance to not look at tradition, but to look at the ordinances and just see what is available there.
Mayor Lund, I
Yes.
think in this resolution, it stated that council assigns those positions.
Then that's fine, but on the 7B specifically states the mayor, and so if I'm not understanding the question, that's fine. And I'm fine with volunteering and everything else. All I'm asking is, this is the first I've heard of it in this council meeting. I'm just asking that we take that up at the next meeting and just give me a chance to take a look at it.
I apologize. I may have, again, tradition, that's how it's always been written. In the resolution itself, it states that council appoints them. Usually the mayor appoints the position, so they approve that the mayor can appoint those positions per this specific resolution.
Then that's fine. Whatever it specifically states in the ordinances and everything, the resolutions, I'm fine with that.
That one was done previously, and that's how it states in that one. I made sure to look at it before we assigned it to the committee.
Okay, very good. Then I'm fine with it, as long as we've got that clarified. Okay, so I agreed.
Thank you. We do need 2 city council members.
Okay, so you are interested. Is there someone else who wants to? Jeremy has also asked Jeremy Reeves, so it'll be appointing Amy Schmischer and Jeremy Reeves, council members both. Amy. Thank you. And all of you have different tastes as far as I'm supposed to call you a council member or mayor pro tem or call you Kathy. And so you all have different tastes, and I'm trying to respond to your various tastes as far as where you're at. I've been told by one, do not call me council member so-and-so, I am Kathy. And others want the formality of it. So I'm doing my best to get to all of your preferences. Okay. Any additions or corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda and the consent agenda as presented.
With the
I'll make-
changes and corrections, you need to state them, please.
Yeah, that will be included in the motion, so.
Yeah, so I'll approve to, I'll
Motion.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the corrections stated in section A on the committee meetings. And C,
Okay, and it's seconded by
Okay, no.
Pamela Simmons. Any discussion on the motion? And I don't need to call the ayes, you need to vote on your screen. And then if the clerk would call the roll, or as far as the response to all this, the vote.
This passed unanimously.
Okay, very good. We're gaining, folks. Invite the city administrator to report, so I'm going to do exactly that. City administrator on the city administrator's report.
Thank you, Mayor Lund, members of council. You have the written city administrator's report. I do want to circle back to my previous comments regarding the issue with the school district. They were hoping to start irrigation work today. That's how tight they are. They've pushed it out, but they're going to need a response on where the city stands on this particular issue. So I need direction from city council today on how we should move forward with this.
Well, if the city administrator needs that, the question is specifically about the school and the parking lot and whether they go ahead and resurface that or we continue with that partnership. Is that correct?
Yeah, the question is, should they start irrigation work so they can re-put the sod and the landscaping back in? Or do we plan on having a parking lot there for a future pool?
And how much is that exposure for us as far as that decision?
You're looking at roughly $250,000.
Okay. Councilmember Tony?
thank you. So we do have that call tomorrow with the pool project subcommittee. That's at 4 o'clock, I believe.
It's at 4 o'clock, yeah.
4 o'clock tomorrow. I was under the understanding were going to begin with one section that didn't include the parking lot yet. That's
Yeah,
why.
they've pushed back irrigation 2 weeks, but they were hoping to start that today.
Yeah, but they can start the other section without the parking lot, correct?
I don't know.
That's
I
why-
have not
yeah.
been involved in those conversations, and
Yeah.
I'm double booked tomorrow. I'm going to try to make it, but I have,
Yeah.
that meeting was scheduled without my knowledge, and I have the TIF negotiations with the fire district tomorrow at the same time.
Okay, so we will meet with the school board tomorrow. We can't give them an answer tonight, I don't think, either way. It'll cost us $250,000. The way we're leaning right now is that we have a path forward, but we can't commit to that at this time.
And what I think they're going to be looking for tomorrow is a decision, one way or the other.
I understand.
Yeah, we cannot give that to them tomorrow.
This is a location decision as well. There are other opportunities for locating the pool. I know that that's been discussed early, and there's been things that have been ruled out, but this is specifically having it at that site as opposed to no-go for the pool forward. There still could be a go even if it wasn't at this particular location.
The ballot language was tied to this site.
Okay.
I have a quick question,
Yeah.
sorry. Is their plan, if we said, okay, forget it, deal's off, to sod that entire area?
Yeah, they
And-
would put back the front lawn as it was prior to their construction project.
Didn't,
Yeah,
not
it's
that
a-
long ago, we said we were going to move towards more of a zero-scaping within city limits and had some kind of discussion about those recommendations before someone puts 2 acres of sod down?
Because this is owned by the state, they do not come to the city for site plan approval.
Okay, but we did talk about that not that long ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just curious. I would say if we're still trying to move forward, we're still trying to move forward, so.
Yep.
Councilmember Simmons.
So if we can't move forward with the pool, what would be the possibility of using that 3% sales tax that we've already collected to help remediate those damages of them holding off for a little while?
That would be a vote. It'd have to go to the taxpayers for a vote, correct?
I
The
think that's a
attorney's
legal
saying-
question, not an administrative
That
question.
is correct. That money is dedicated to the payment.
But it's at least something we could put on the table.
You could put it on
To
the ballot.
voters.
Yeah. We've been working on this for longer than 3 years. And, this subcommittee on the project, the pool, we want to look at all the possibilities, get all the facts we can. And to be pushed one way in such a short time is not the way we need to go forward. So we'll see what they say tomorrow and see, talk with the school district, get their point of view as well.
I would be fine with having, because we're going to need a decision before the next meeting, correct, City Administrator?
I'm sorry, what was
We're
that?
going to need a decision on this before the next meeting.
More than likely, yes, sir.
So can we authorize the 3 members who are dealing with the pool that they make a decision based on information tomorrow?
I don't know that that's legal under,
Are you going to need a
This is a
motion?
monetary decision with quite a bit of money tied to it. I would bring that to the full council. I don't think you can delegate that kind of authority.
Okay, so just exploring the possibilities. So what I'm hearing is we cannot wait until the next council meeting. So we've got a tension here that's pretty significant.
yeah, we could have that meeting tomorrow. I would suggest having a special meeting with all of council to have a discussion and decide so that we can give the school district clarity after that meeting.
We need 24 hours notice, right, to have a meeting, so we're probably looking at Wednesday?
It would be, Wednesday would be the soonest, yes.
Wednesday, there are meetings at 4, 5, and 6 o'clock, just so you're aware.
What's your preference, folks?
Is the only meeting at 6 the budget subcommittee? I think that we could reschedule that and have a meeting just after the URA concludes, since
Yeah.
we'll all already be here for
Can-
that meeting anyway.
Can we schedule that at the conclusion of the URA meeting, so if it ends early, we're not sitting around for a half an hour?
Yeah, you could, I don't know what's on your URA agenda, but maybe you could schedule it for 5:30 or something like that. You
Yeah.
do have to give a set
Yeah.
time, but maybe 5:30 or as soon as possible thereafter.
Okay.
Do we need a motion for that special meeting, or we can just go ahead and?
We will get it scheduled.
Okay. Citizens, we are going to have a special meeting dealing with the pool issue, specifically at Wednesday at 5:30, right here in this council chambers. And we'll see where it goes. And we're looking for you folks to come up with the information tomorrow. I hope that's a good meeting and we get some clarity with that. Any further issues on the administrator's report?
Happy to answer any questions about the written report.
Seeing none on my, there we go. Councilmember Schmischer.
Thanks. I just wanted to flag, it's really exciting that the IT department is in the final testing of the eCitation and eCrash software, and that the go-live is expected this summer. I think that that's another way that process efficiencies will be improved instead of having to do third-party paper copies, having things electronically. So just wanted to give them a shout out for the hard work that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, appreciate that. Both the IT department and the folks over at PD and courts who have to work on all that stuff behind the scenes. It's been a long time coming with this implementation. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Several weeks back, I had the privilege of going to the emergency management that is done by the county and visited with Michael Kroll, and he's got an impressive effort going over there that I think we need to take a look at. And I know what's been happening with utility companies shutting people's power off and the risk of fire. And we all know that we are way down on the snow this year, and there's a substantial risk of water in Colorado, and there's no worse place than the Arkansas River Valley, where the last I looked, we were at 43% on the snowpack. And so there's lots of potential for challenges that would be there, and I think hearing from Michael Kroll for a number of minutes is a good thing. And if you're a citizen, I would encourage you to listen to this, because this affects our community, and Michael is there and has already been doing good things. I hope you would talk about that as well, Michael, as far as when there was power out, that you had generators for people who were in their home and their lives literally depended on having power. So you're doing good things, and we welcome you to tonight, and please take it away.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to be
A little
here.
closer to the mic, if you will.
Thank you for inviting me to be here. Thank you to the council. You guys have packets in front of you for mitigation, preparedness, planning, how we can find you as a first responder, how we can find your address with address marker program that I have. As Mayor Phil Lund said, we are at historical lows. We've never been this low in history for our snowpack. There's no chance of us catching up with our snowpack and our moisture this year. Just not going to happen. Red flag day after red flag day. Today was one of them. So I need your folks' help in getting the word out to our community, to plan ahead, to prepare for all hazard preparedness. Not just, hey, we've got a power outage, what are we going to do, but all hazards across the board. You guys are the voice. You guys have the push in the community. I'm a one-man EM shop. I can only do so much. We're one community. We're one group playing nice in the whole sandbox of Canyon City and Fremont County. As Mayor Lund mentioned, we had our very first ever that I've ever been involved with, that Black Hills has ever been involved with, power safety power shutoffs. That means they're going to turn the power off when conditions on the ground, their weather stations, what they're getting from first responders, when that dictates shutting the power off to help prevent a wildfire. You see the fires in California. Power lines go down, transformers go down, power poles go down, and they lose 11,000 homes, Paradise Fire. We don't want that to happen here. So Black Hills reached out to me back in ¡24. They wanted to work with myself, the Teller County EM, and the Custer County EM. How can we do this? Who do we need to have at the table? A lot of you were on those lists to be at our PSPS meetings, planning, all of our stakeholders, so that you guys can inform your citizens, hey, this is what's going to happen, here's what's going to take place, and what we need you to be prepared for. One of my programs that Mayor Lund was talking about, I was able to get a big grant from our Access and Functional Needs Coordinator at the state, Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, for portable Honda generators. When we lose power, not everybody can just breathe. Not everybody can get out of their home. Not everybody can charge their medical equipment, supply power to that medical equipment that keeps them alive. So with this grant, I have generators that I can loan out to folks that are medically dependent. We have air beds for people that are not mobile. They depend on that air bed so that they don't get bed sores. That air bed deflates when the power goes out and it comes up around them. They have no way to get out of those. Little babies that come home that are in the NICU, they can't breathe. Their batteries only last for an hour and a half. That was my first success story with that program. So all of these things I have put in place over the last 8 years with grant funding. I had to become very good at writing grants because my budget does not allow for these big expenses with light towers, generators, all the emergency supplies that I have acquired in a little over 8 years now, and over $3 million in grants to help our community, our whole county, because it is a whole county issue. Wildfires, floods, severe weather. We have the power outages. This year, winter hasn't really been here. So we've been very lucky with the snow piece of it. We haven't had those blizzards. Maybe we're going to get one here in the spring, which any moisture would be appreciated. But that's what all of that information that I gave you in your packets is about. How do we know that there's an emergency? Well, Everbridge, our reverse notification system. Everbridge is the vendor. There's a lot of vendors out there. But we need you guys to sign up. All your landlines, VoIP phones, business lines, all of those were put in the system. But cell phones, you can be on the beach in Florida, and if there's an evacuation for whatever the situation may be, if you opt your cell phone in, you're going to get that while you're drinking margaritas and enjoying the beach in the sand. Then you can call your friends, your neighbors, your family that you have a plan with and say, hey, I need you to get my pets out. I need you to help grandma get out of the house, whatever the case may be. All of that information is in your packets. Any of that information is in there and more. I know there's a lot in there, and you guys might put yourself to sleep at night reading that, but all of that information is what the citizens of Fremont County have asked for over the last 8 years. They like pictures of their 72-hour kits so they can check the boxes so they have it in their 72-hour kits. They like being able to scan a QR code, the younger generation. The older generation, they could care less about a QR code, just give me a piece of paper and let me fill out an information piece and then put this into the system so you can be prepared. There's also other information in there, a great free app. What 3 words? What 3 words is a geolocation app? It's a free app. The company geogridded the entire world in 10-foot by 10-foot squares. So when you bring it up, it finds you, and that dot has 3 words associated with it. So if you're lost, you see a wildfire, you see a wreck, whatever the case may be, you don't have to know where you are. You just have to give our FreeCom dispatch that covers Fremont and Custer counties those 3 words, and they can geolocate you. It also works in Pueblo County and El Paso County, and some of our other counties that border us are getting the same technology. It integrates right into CAD, and they can find you. Also in that packet, like I mentioned, our address marker program. Being a first responder, we need to be able to find you no matter what time of day or night. So for $25 through my office, you can get 3, 4, or 5 numerics, going vertically or horizontally. It's a bright red sign with reflective numerics, and we can find you easier in the daytime, in the nighttime, and we don't have to look for you. If there's an evacuation, if there's a medical issue, what have you. Also, everybody loves their pets. There's a pet care card. You can put it on a refrigerator door in a 1-gallon storage bag. Then we know when we come to your house, hey, these folks have pets, they might need rescue. There's the vial of life in there. You may not have any medical issue. Your family members might. You can fill that out, put it on your fridge, and if you're down and out in your home, EMS and fire, even law enforcement, grab that 1-gallon plastic storage bag off your fridge, has a decal that says to look for it, you can put on your front window, says, hey, this is what's in this house, look for it on the fridge. They can take that with you and get you more help instead of guessing when you're down and out and you can't speak for yourself. So all of these pieces, I have worked with a lot of smart people in the emergency management field. We're a pretty tight-knit group because we're a new joint venture, I'll call it, but we're a joint venture group across the country, but new since 9/11, when emergency management really took hold. And we work well together. A lot of these pieces came from our emergency management conference that we just had the 2nd week of February. New things are coming out all the time to bring back to all of our citizens, all of our communities, to help prepare, plan, mitigate. Yes, when we mitigate, we don't just help our neighbors, we just don't help ourselves, we help first responders get in and out. We help because we're limited on fire trucks, we're limited on police officers, we're limited on ambulances. In rural Colorado, we don't have all of the resources that the metro area does. You don't have 100 fire trucks coming to a call. You might have 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. So we have to keep those things in mind. How can we get in to help you? You mitigate your property. You mitigate your barns. You clean your gutters. All of that is in all of those packets. It's easy stuff. But when you help, it helps your neighbor. Your neighbor then can help their neighbor. And it's just a domino effect for mitigating and helping others as we go. And when we can get in, we can get out, it's life safety for us as well. Because if you don't get the notification on Everbridge, we've got to go door to door. That takes time. That puts responders' lives in danger. So if we can make it easier and safer for everybody else, it's a team sport. And we all have to play on the same team and think safety and preparedness and mitigation for the greater good of Fremont County, our South Region partners, and across the state. Because as we've seen, we had the Royal Gorge Fire, we had the YMCA fire, we had the Parkdale Canyon fire, we had the Quarry fire right up here. We're not going to have less incidents. It's not a matter of if, but when. And this year, with our conditions, it's a little bit scary of what can happen. One chain dragging, one cigarette being flipped out, one lightning strike, one power line coming down. We're primed for an incident this year.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yes, Councilmember Schmischer.
Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for the work that you do. I just wanted to make sure that we explicitly told people how to sign up for Everbridge.
So there are a couple ways. On the CRCA, Combined Regional Communications Authority website, they are the host of that. And you can go to crca.gov now, and there's a link for that. You can go to my emergency management Facebook page. There are a whole bunch of other Facebook pages for fire districts, sheriff's office, the county, and all of that information is on there with QR codes, with the links, with the websites, all of that. And you create your own account, you create the ways you want to be notified, and there's other things that weather alerts, there's some things that are being built into for water outage alerts too. So you can customize it to how the routes and then what you want to be notified of.
Thank you. And then second question, this is wonderful. There's so much great information in here. If citizens wanted to pick up a copy of this, is this information all online, or how would they go about getting their hands on this?
So you guys have some at City Hall, and every other municipality has them as well. I have them at my emergency management office. I can also send the digital version, because some just like the digital side. So I can definitely send the digital version out as well, and you guys can do with them as you want. All of those pamphlets, everything in there is in digital version, so you don't have to worry about it getting destroyed or washed out or anything like that.
Thanks so much.
Councilmember Tony.
Yeah, thanks for all the good you're doing. Everybody doesn't see it every day, but you know, we know what you're doing out there. We appreciate it. You actually will go to a community or an addition or housing, and you guys will do like a fire mitigation plan for the community, right?
So I do make visits around the year. What I like to ask folks is, what fire district do you live in? And I like to have them visit with their fire district folks. I like to stay in my lane, and our fire districts have some great programs where they're going to come out and mitigate. Ready, Set, Go program, or hey, we have a mitigation project and we take all the slash, and then using my emergency management chipper, they'll come out and chip it. Fire departments will come out and do that. It helps the community, it helps them, it helps the county, it helps with response, it helps with recovery, all of those pieces. So reach out to your fire district if you know which fire district you live in, and contact them first. If you're not in a fire district and you're in unincorporated Fremont County, then I'm more than happy to come out.
Thanks.
Michael, what are your biggest needs as far as emergency management? And you are putting in hours and hours, way above 40, I know, every week. I'm totally impressed with your dedication to this. But I wouldn't mind hearing just your biggest needs to make sure that we are helping you as a community do your job as well.
Having you come out to my office, having you guys listen and push everything out to the community is a huge help. Getting the word out, preparedness, folks taking the time to have that plan. Mitigation, for every dollar you spend on mitigation, now it saves $15 in recovery. That's huge. When you talk about the Marshall Fire, 1,000 homes lost, 11,000 homes in California at the Paradise Fire. That is huge in recovery costs. So planning ahead, being prepared, having a communications plan, the 72-hour kits, talking with your friends, your neighbors, your homeowners associations, property owners associations. I come out and I do those presentations year-round, fire department open houses, you name it, and getting those folks that maybe you're an access and functional needs person, we don't know about it, working with governmental agencies, getting on the list with Upper Arkansas Area Council of Governments so that they can let us know. Having more than one way in and out, knowing your plans, knowing where your family is going to meet, all of these things, it all comes together, and makes you better prepared, helps your friends, your family, your neighbors, your community as a whole.
Thank you. I wonder if we could edit the video that we've taken and just grab his slot and put it on the city's Facebook page, just so citizens, instead of going through the hour and a half of what we've dealt with, that we could put that 10 minutes or 12 minutes out there for him?
Yeah, we can look at making a shorter snippet of the presentation to get that information out, absolutely.
That'd be great. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate it coming tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a staff report. That's on there, them. Oh, okay, we got the ordinance first, got it. Is that, do we have a staff report? Is that part of that, or? No, I understand. Okay, I got it. Now I'm following how this works. I actually read this before. So we are now going to deal with Ordinance 2, Series 2026, entitled an ordinance of the City Canyon City amending Title 15 of the Canyon City Municipal Code by adopting the Wildfire Resiliency Code. And it is correct that this came before the Economic Development Committee, and the Economic Development Committee, the 4 members who are voting, decided to pass this on up to the council. And so here we are. And City Administrator, you want to take this, or does the City Attorney want to take this?
Actually, we'll be passing this off to the City Attorney.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. So council, in front of you, you have the ordinance adopting the Wildfire Resiliency Code. By reference, the code, I believe, is right after, follows that ordinance. This ordinance does a couple of things. Obviously, it adopts the code. This is a special process to adopt a code by reference. And so you'll see that there's a list of amendments in there, 15-15030. I just wanted to clarify that under the state legislation, the city is not allowed to make any amendments to the code unless it petitions the code board to have those changes approved. These are the only areas in which the city can amend the wildfire code. And then I wanted to also note there in section D, that is the penalty section. I believe all the other codes that have been adopted by reference have that language that refers back to chapter 1.28 of the Canyon City Municipal Code. That provision is rather lengthy and has several provisions, but just to clarify for council, it does allow fines up to the statutory maximum, which is $26.50, and there actually is an inflation tag to that $26.50 in the city code. I'm not sure the city has actually ever implemented that inflation. That's also a provision under state law that it's allowed to do that. However, the council is permitted to impose whatever fines it would like, $5, $2.50, whatever the council is like. So that's just standard language, but you're free to amend that as you see fit. Section 2 actually adopts the code map that delineates where the classifications for proper fire intensity classifications have been designated by the code board. And I think we talked about this at economic development, and sorry, I don't have a map for you to pull up, but I think we did during that meeting. A good portion of the city is not classified, so this code would not apply to it. There are sections of Dawson Ranch, 4 Mile for sure, and kind of outlying areas closer to the county that are subject to the fire intensity classifications. Would you like to add to that, Ryan?
Yeah, I was just going to say up along the hogbacks along 5th Street, North 5th Street.
And so that map is available online. It's interactive. You can look at it, play with it, and see where things are. There was a question for council regarding coordination with the county, and I haven't had any conversations with the county. I'm looking to staff. I don't think there has been either.
I have not. Kathy, if you've spoken with Wyatt or somebody at the county, do you mind coming to the podium?
Yes, I've spoke with Wyatt. He just said they were going to adopt it as is because it was mandatory for them as well. So I don't know if that was the lengthy conversation I had with him, but that's been a month, 6 weeks back, and I haven't talked to him since.
And I did want to clarify that the county's jurisdiction from the Wildfire Resiliency Code is a bit different. It's only the areas of the county that are not covered by a fire protection district or a fire district. I haven't looked deeply at that map, so I don't know what that looks like for Fremont County. We've also talked to the fire district. They will be adopting the code as well, as is, as far as I know, the last conversation I had with their attorney, she indicated that. So we have had that conversation with them. A couple of things, governmental entities can join together if they choose to have an IGA for enforcement. There's obviously some building-related issues and some kind of more what I would consider a firefighter with the vegetation-related issues, so it's kind of a combo code. And so the governments can join together for enforcement or, assistance. You can also seek the state's assistance in enforcement of the code if you choose. I will tell you that there's been a lot of rumors flowing down from the state, and one of them that I have heard is that the state is completely unprepared for those types of requests and does not have the staff to perform those functions. So take that for what you have. I have not heard that directly from state staff, but I've heard that through other avenues. And I'm happy to answer any questions and stop talking.
So I'm going to start off with one, because we discussed it in the Economic Development Committee, which is how does home rule play into that? I think we had a citizen here tonight that was also addressing that. And then also the second part is what is the timing for the adoption? Is there a deadline? So
Sure. So we've analyzed the home rule question. We think the city has a fairly weak home rule claim. It can certainly, it's not been litigated. This type of code has not been litigated through home rule. Building codes are typically areas in which a home rule authority can exercise its jurisdiction. So there could be an argument there. On the vegetation side, these types of vegetation codes are brand new and it just hasn't been litigated. So it's a pretty substantial risk. Just to give you an idea, I don't know how that would play out in reality. The city can always seek a declaratory judgment from a court establishing its home rule authority. That's awfully risky for the city to spend that money and with a very unpredictable outcome. We doubt the state will sue you. What the state will likely do is probably just withhold funding. That's what they have threatened to do to other entities. Again, rumor on the street kind of information I have there.
withhold funding in other areas, not just specifically
Yeah, so
this.
if you apply for a grant with DOLA, it will require you to show that you adopted this code. They also have threatened not only adoption, but enforcement, that you're actually enforcing it. I gotta be honest with you, I don't know how the state is ever gonna figure out whether or not these are being enforced. They practically don't have the ability to do that. But I suppose they could audit you. There is a kind of audit provision in the law that the code board could audit a city in that sense, or any local government. So the deadline for adoption, it's a little funky, and this is not in your ordinance, but could be amended to be put in there. The deadline for adoption is April 1st, but it does not have to be enforced until July 1st. So you could have a delayed enforcement section of the code of the ordinance if you wanted to.
Councilmember Tony.
Yeah, thanks. So I did read that. It's a lot to read. And I want to begin by acknowledging that this is something important. Wildfire mitigation is not optional in Colorado. We've all seen the catastrophic fire that can do what it can do to communities. Protecting lives and property is one of our most serious responsibility. However, after reviewing this 2025 Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code, I cannot support adopting it as written for Canyon City. We're a home rule city. That status is not symbolic. It's a constitutional authority granted so by the communities that can govern themselves according to local conditions. What works in high-density forested mountain corridors do not automatically work here in Canyon City or across Fremont County. Our geography, fuel patterns, development density, and economic realities are different. Yet this code applies broad statewide standards that may exceed what is reasonably necessary for many areas within our city limits. Our geography, I mentioned that, sorry. My primary concern is the economic impact. Canyon City is a working community. Many of our residents live on fixed incomes. Many are retirees. Many are families building or improving modest homes. This code will increase construction costs through required materials, design standards, defensible space mandates, and inspection requirements. We talked one of the earlier meetings about $10,000, $20,000, what it would do to the community. Well, even a $10,000 or $20,000 increase in building costs can determine whether a family builds here or it does not. It can determine whether a senior remodels for accessibility or delays it. It can affect whether housing remains attainable in our community. Resale homes, for example, a home that will be $250,000 could be as much as $350,000. We're talking about affordable housing in Canyon City. This does not do it. It does the opposite. When government increases the cost of housing, those costs are never absorbed by the system. They're absorbed by our residents. I'm also concerned about administrative burden. Enforcing a complex new resiliency code will require training, time, potentially additional staffing. That means higher permit fees or increased budget allocations. We must ask whether that is the best use of our limited city resources. Another question we must honestly evaluate is the effectiveness. Will this code apply citywide, meaningfully reduce wildfire risk in Canyon City? Or would it target mitigation strategies focused on higher risk interface areas, deliver greater results at a lower cost? We already have tools available. We have community wildfire plannings, targeted fuel reductions, public education, you just heard that, incentive-based defensible space programs. The approach can be tailored to specific neighborhoods rather than imposing blanket requirements on every property owner. Finally, we must consider property rights and local autonomy. Residents expect this council to weigh state guidance carefully, not simply adopt it without scrutiny. If we adopt this code wholesale, we may be surrendering more local discretion than necessary. We talk about setting precedents, this does. I'll be clear, I'm not opposed to wildfire mitigation. I'm opposed to adopting a statewide mandate without carefully modifying it to reflect Canyon City's risk profile, economic conditions, and community values. If the state requires minimum standards, then our responsibility is to adopt the least burdensome, most locally tailored version possible, and not to advocate for flexibility where needed. Our job is not to check a compliance box. Our job is to protect our residents physically, economically, and constitutionally. For these reasons, I can't adopt the Colorado Wildlife Resilience Code as written, and I encourage the council to pursue a locally driven alternative if possible. I think we need to table this until we get more facts and consider it carefully. Thank you.
Councilmember Schmischer.
Thank you. Thanks so much to our building inspector for reaching out at the staff level to the county. I do think that the leadership level at the county is exploring local options, and I really do not want the city to have more restrictive, more onerous, more burdensome requirements than the county. So I would ask that we have those conversations and that we take a look at what they are doing. There's no need to reinvent the wheel, but if they've already started that effort and that work to tailor it to our local circumstances, I would really appreciate it if we could go ahead and have those conversations and see if it made sense from a Canyon City perspective as well.
Yeah, we can reach out to them, just as the city attorney mentioned, the rules that govern the county is different than the city. So, but we can reach out and see where any of those align.
What I heard the city attorney say is that the rules that govern the county only govern the spaces that are not under a fire protection district, not that they have different rules when it comes to amending this code.
Correct. Their authority only extends to those areas where there's not a fire district. And,
Sure.
But the rules to amend, you have to go to the state.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they are the same
But they are the
rules.
same, yes, absolutely.
I had a couple of questions just based on what Mr. Scott said in his opening remarks. Could you clarify on page 9 of the code 103.1, it says creation of agency, the bracket insert name of department is hereby created? I'm assuming that is the state level, not locally informed board and that the code official similarly is a state level. Is that
No.
accurate? Or what is?
There is no
What is insert name of department?
So, so if you go back to the ordinance itself, so that's very common in codes that are adopted by reference. So they want you to insert your local agency in there, and so in the ordinance itself, so under the amendment section B, you'll see the city building department is the official in charge thereof and shall be known as the code official.
Okay,
So
so
there's-
Mr. Scott's concerns about it being an external agency, the code itself, the amendments that we are allowed to make are essentially saying that this would be a function of the Canyon City building official.
Correct. There was a state agency created through the legislation, not through the model code that you're adopting.
Okay. Okay. And how are we coordinating that agency with the fire district's agency?
In what way, I guess?
There are overlapping jurisdictions, correct?
Yeah, so I'm going to try not to get too much in the weeds here, but there's actually an issue with the bill, the legislation. So under Title 32, fire districts only have authority to come into a municipal boundary and enforce a code with the permission of that municipality. So from the fire code perspective, like the fire code the city's adopted, that occurs. The city is given that permission. The city hasn't been asked to give that permission in this, but we have reached out to the state and tried to get clarification on how a fire district can actually employ this code inside a municipality, and they have been unable to answer that question because I think the bill is incorrectly written. So we have definitely talked to the fire district about what they're doing and adopting. I don't want to speak for the fire district. I don't know how they see enforcement and how much. I mean, they're not interested in the building hardening section. They don't have the mechanism to enforce that or the expertise. Whether or not they want to actively enforce the vegetation side, I think is an open question that probably needs to be asked of their district board. Because I don't want to speak out of turn based upon what I was told.
As city staff, that's the way that we have looked at it. We have looked at it as if you're pulling a permit, so if it's the building envelope, if it's a fence permit, those hardening types of issues, those are the things that we're going to be looking at. And if it's vegetation, that should fall on the fire district from a staff perspective. That's what makes sense.
But we haven't actually had those conversations with them yet.
We have had those conversations. Again, I don't believe they're going to enforce, but that is a decision for their board and their administration.
Okay. Last question. Since it's an ordinance, I believe it would need 2 readings.
Correct.
And the deadline to adopt it to not come into non-compliance with the state is April 1?
That is correct.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So do you have a recommendation for us, given our concerns and given the need, at least 2 stated concerns, and given my request that we please coordinate with the county, given that we only have 2 meetings before April 1? Thanks.
You can adopt on first reading. We can go and do the research and then make a final decision on second reading at the March 16th meeting. Or you could table and approve, push first reading to March 16th, and second reading would be April 6th. So you'd be 5 days out of compliance if adopted.
Okay. Councilmember Worthington.
I would like to see where can I find the map again? I have misplaced it in my emails, and I need to, being a representative for District 2, we just finished our fire mitigation last week of picking up a lot of limbs and so forth through there, but I think it would be good for me to pass this on to our HOA meeting Thursday, so.
We can
One
resend
of
the
us
map
will send the map to
to
you, the
council,
link.
and we can have Christie put it back out on social media.
Okay, because let me make sure I understood, is our great attorney just said, basically, we do have areas that are exempted from this new code. And you said that most of the city with exceptions of like part or all of Dawson Ranch, and you said the hogbacks and so forth would be exempt. What about areas that we are anticipating the potential for annexation or something in the future?
So I'm going to try to describe the map through words.
Okay.
So in this, the central part of the city is unclassified, which means it's not subject to the code. As you start to move out, so you have 4 Mile and Dawson and the Hogback, and so the areas of annexation, they're probably more than likely going to be classified. So between maps, for whatever reason, and Kathy can attest to this, the original draft map had most municipalities were covered. Something happened in the interim because a lot of my municipal clients were then almost all completely excluded from the classification with like little teeny pieces, so. Sure.
Councilmember Maloney.
Oh, thanks. I've been looking for the map since we started talking about this. I found it. There was orange and yellow on that map. Yellow was not critical, orange was more critical.
Yellow is level 1, orange is level 2. There's a level 3, but the city doesn't have any of that. That's mostly for the mountain areas.
So, I mean.
There we go.
It does affect 4 Mile Ranch.
Yes.
And that would be level 1.
Oh.
Level 1 only has to do with roofing. So if they would go to, let's say there was hail damage or wind damage and there was a lot of roofs that need to be replaced, the level 1, that's where you would do Class A roofing.
Okay. Yeah, and even so, level 1 or no level, I'm still in support of this after the discussion we had just prior to this. But I found the map, so now I understand it better. That's all I had. Thanks.
Any other questions? Last one I would have is if this were adopted and then the legislation is amended itself, we would still have to come back to the home rule city to modify it, or can they then have a foothold that they could quickly move additional restrictions on us?
Oh, if the model code is changed?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's harder to get that home rule argument in if you adopt it and then they change it and then you say, nope, we're home rule now, and because
Right.
you're always home rule. I mean, the city has the right to exercise its home rule authority. It doesn't have to. That would be the counter argument to that is, well, you took it too far and we want to exercise our home rule authority and not adopt those additional amendments or update or whatever they do to the model code.
Okay. The only other piece of information I'd have, because I don't have a vote, the council does, is in my conversations with the mayor of Pueblo, they are resistant to this at this point as well. And they're not going to, I don't think, meet the April 1st deadline, would be my guess. So, Councilmember Worthington. Were you done?
Darn microphones.
Okay.
One comment I'll make is based on personal experience. Back when I think it was it Copper Gulch or one of the fires that was west, my husband's cousin was the head of the BLM at that time. And he gave us a call, and it was like 5 miles away from Dawson Ranch. And he says, if the wind doesn't change within an hour, you will be evacuating. So that's how quickly fires can move, how quickly embers can travel. They will travel miles where it's not real flames. And it can that's as quick as it starts. And so I'm just saying that I realize that this could impact the dollar, but how much is the dollar worth when you suddenly don't have a home and you're dealing with the insurance companies? So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
Okay. I see no other questions or comments coming, so is there a motion that the council wants to entertain? I don't see any. There we go. Councilmember Maloney.
I move to approve on first reading by title only ordinance number 2, series 2026.
Councilmember Worthington, you second the motion? Okay. It's been moved and supported that we adopt the motion as it's written. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, go ahead and vote.
For this vote, we have Councilmember Schmisher, no. Councilmember Worthington, yes. Councilmember Dennehy, no. Councilmember Maloney, yes. Councilmember Tony, no. Pamela Simmons has abstained. Councilmember Reeves, no. It does not pass.
Okay. So, no passing, and we didn't put it in for any further things. Are we just going to leave it there? Do you have any advice for us, City Attorney?
So I think it's up to council whether you want to give us direction to talk more to your other local governmental partners and see what's going on. If you would like us to dive into the model code and see if there's areas in which we think the city council might be more amenable if there's amendments made, and we could start that process with the state. That would obviously be a very lengthy conversation with council as to what we do, but we can certainly do that. So it's up to council, or you can leave it as it is right now and
Wait to hear from the state.
wait to hear from the state.
Okay. Does anyone have any thoughts?
I have a thought, and it's a moot point right now, but this is going to affect our ability with the state to receive funding for this and that. This is going to affect all of our insurance, our homeowners insurance across the board. This isn't just going to affect people building a house that have to follow these requirements. We're going to get tagged as not following these rules. And when your insurance goes up, you might, rethink what we just voted on tonight, and that's all I got.
Councilmember Schmisher.
Thank you. I absolutely think that this needs to be brought back to council, but I want to make sure that we've done our homework of talking to the other entities in Fremont County first, and I want our attorneys to go through it line by line and see what areas we could carve out that maybe aren't as applicable here as they are in those little heavily forested towns. Thanks.
Councilmember Worthington.
One thing I will say is that homeowners in Dawson Ranch have had their home insurance canceled. And it's based on where we are, based on fire. And so I think that's something to be considered. So people have had a hard time finding insurance based on the fire. And I think Chief Delvecchio, thank you, I was going to say Dave Delvecchio, basically, who lives in Dawson Ranch, has presented to the homeowners the fact that we are in a special section to where technically we could be very hard to find insurance. And so, anyway, I just thought I would throw that out.
Councilmember Tony.
Yeah, I agree. I'd agree. I'd like our attorneys to talk to our other local authorities. I'd like more in-depth study on this before the next council meeting, so we could.
That's probably not going to happen. So I just have to be honest with you. Some of this bill is very technical, and we might need to consult either members of the fire district or other fire consultants to help us with some of the technical issues in the code. So I'm not sure before your next meeting that's going to be possible. I think we can have those conversations with the local partners definitely before the next council meeting, but the technical review is probably a little farther out.
City Administrator, do you know if the Colorado Municipal League has taken a position on this at all?
Oh, I think they took a position when it first went before the legislature. When I was at the CML workshop 2 weeks ago, they were talking about still amending or making changes to the implementation deadline. What the state legislature doesn't understand is that municipalities have first and second readings, and the timing on said things is a little off. So I think it's still a work in progress, as I think the city attorney has mentioned. It's not a very good piece of legislation, and it's another unfunded mandate from the state.
Can we kick it back to the Economic Development Committee to take a further look at this? Would that work, or you want to keep it at the council level? What's your pleasure?
I think at this point, it's already been in committee. I would keep it at the council level myself.
Okay.
And
You were
I'm gonna have to
saying-
step out. I apologize. I have a young man who's getting
We're going to
sick.
finish up. Can we at least bring this back on the agenda? We'll put it back on the agenda next time, and we'll just see where it's at.
Yeah, we'll bring
Okay.
you updates from the county and the fire district.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to do right now. Councilmember Simmons.
This is a very difficult conversation for me to have. I feel that city council is a very important position, and it needs someone who can give it the time and attention it deserves. Shortly after the election, my world took several drastic turns, and I now find that my time and attention must be devoted to my family and my business. It's really hard for me to do this. I feel that I am breaking the trust that the voters placed in me when they elected me to this position. But my community deserves better than I can devote right now. I fully intend to continue to support our city and our community in every way possible. But at this time, I feel it is in the best interest for everybody involved that I resign my position as city council.
Thank you for your service, Pamela. We appreciate it very much, and we wish you all the best in the future, for sure, with everything that you're going to take on. And our prayers are with your situation as well.
Thank you.
With that, we are adjourned.